So we've already saved this. Yes, I want my swatches. And you see, the swatches changed. So that was an old file, and maybe the new version can't figure it out from the old code. But this is what I was expecting to see in my Illustrator file to make it look like that. But I had the old file, and you saw how I struggled to figure out, why is this doing this to me? So all good things as you learn. And as you can see, there is my lasso, right? Wasn't there before. So just remember to edit your toolbar if you don't have that, because sometimes these versions do not give you that. So just be careful if that's the case. So I feel like they got enough negative feedback on some of the versions that they fixed that. So I can see that everything I want to see is what I want to see. And that's what I was going to do. So I don't have to go back to do that now. So after you've created your first blank document, you want to be sure you have the important windows up. And that is simply your layers and your tools, and your swatches are good. Another window I like to use in the tracing is the stroke window. So you can kind of put these things to the side, and you'll see why when we get into the tracing. So let's get our photograph in here. So again, I'm going to import, which is place. I'm not going to link it. And I kind of peruse the best perspective of my lobster. The nonprofit is an oceanic nonprofit that I'll show to you later. And so I am going to simply place, and here it is. Now, you don't have to worry too much about resolution in Illustrator, but if it's too small and you scale it big and you lose detail, then it's not going to be good. So I like this perspective. There was a lot of just flat lobsters laying around, but I was thinking for my logo, and I already love this, that I want to have a nice perspective. And I'm already thinking that I'm not too crazy about this arm, but I really like this arm, and I could mirror this to be on the other side. So as if the lobster was like holding something. And maybe it will be the logo, the name of the organization. I don't know yet, but I just like this perspective. It's straight on, and I can mirror this to the other side. So now once I have that, and you can go big on this, you don't have to worry about the resolution. And so here, down here is your scale tool. So going over tools, the overview was the first, just kind of getting through the menus. This one is going to really get nitpicking into the tools. So scale-wise, in Photoshop, you no longer have to hit the Shift key. You used to. They changed that, and you don't need to do the Shift key, because Shift key traditionally in Adobe, and especially in Illustrator, that has not changed. It keeps things proportionately. So by default and by habit, I am always hitting the Shift key, and I have to break it for Photoshop, but not in Illustrator. You must, and I'll repeat myself, you must keep the Shift key down when you scale. Nothing worse is if you distort something someone has given you. They'll go, oh my God, you distorted the image. That is like not good. It's like really bad. There's no double clicking like in Photoshop. You Shift key down and you simply scale out. So there's no distortion. And that goes the same with elements, not just photographs. So that's big enough for me, and I'm happy with that. And spacebar gives you the hand to move around. Now, you cannot work in any of these softwares if you can't move things around. But you cannot move things around in Photoshop. You have to zoom out to be able to look outside the image. But in Illustrator, you can move things around, just like a drafting table, which is what I love. And let's minimize this layer here. Now, you can shoot questions anytime that you want as I'm working. So the first thing you want to do is lock it, because you don't want this guy to move. And now I can create a layer above, even though if I drew something, it would do it automatically. Just by habit, I'm making a point to make a layer. So now I have that locked in, and now I'm going to go to my tool. So on the toolbar, this is for a fill, and this is not your background color as it is in Photoshop. It is your stroke color. So I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to get a color that I can see from based on my picture here. So I don't want to use black because there's some dark colors in here, so I won't see my stroke. So I'm going to use green. I'm really going to see that in contrast to the red. So I'll use green. And that will be my stroke. So now again, I can mouse down, and what you want to do is you want to zoom in, and I'm just going to do the claw first. So a couple of things that you could do is you could, if you want, just get the silhouette. And that would be doing maybe just half, because I did tell you I'm going to mirror it to the other side, correct? So I only need to do half of the lobster versus the whole lobster. If you want the whole object, obviously you're going to keep the whole object. So for my purpose right now, though, I'm just going to do the claw, so that then we begin to blend the shapes together to make the silhouette, or you can independently draw them separately. It's up to you. So you have different options, and we'll talk about that. But let's just get into the tools so I can show you how to begin tracing. So I've got my color, got my stroke. I don't want to fill, so I'm going to click that and hit no color. So now I'm making a shape that has no color, only a stroke, because I want to see through to the other side. And I am going to use the pen tool. So now the pen tool, if I just plot it to show you, here's a plot, and I'm plotting. I am not loosely, and if you come over here, you loosely draw that. Now there are other ways to do the pen tool and escape. Like right now I'm stuck, just hit escape. And right now I've actually created a point. How do I know that? Because there's a layer. I don't see it, right? I don't see anything. So often you go Command A or Control All, depending on what you have, and you'll see things that you don't normally see, because right now it's a point and I can just hit delete. Takes that layer away. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because there is a tool, which is the Curvature Tool. And honestly, I don't use it, but you might find a nice way to use it. And the reason why I don't like it, because it's not too accurate, but you could find ways of doing that. So you certainly could, and there's lots of undos in Illustrator, which is nice. And so I am one who wants to have precision, and I go faster with plotting because I'm going to use a Bezier curve. So I'm going to just go for the claw to show you the claw. So I'm just going to do the silhouette of the claw. So mouse down, and right away I'm not happy because the line is too thin. So I'm going to change, escape, and again you see where it's here, just hit delete, back it out, and I'm going to change the point to be 6 points so I can see it. You can always change the stroke to be thinner. The important thing is that you can see. And now I can see. Now the reason why I do the plotting is because the thing that you learn in Illustrator is you don't need a lot of points. And so I don't want to make a lot of points. I want as little points as possible. And so this way, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be utilizing what we call the anchor tool. And this is what we call the Bezier curve, even though they call it an anchor. And the anchor means that I can come here and I can pull this out. And so you see, you don't really need a lot of points. And so the plotting is really fast. So I don't really need this. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to delete the point. And then I'm going to pull the point with the white arrow, because remember, the white arrow are points. I'm going to pull this out. And you notice how when you click this, they both move. Well, what if you don't want that to happen? On a PC, you just do, let's see here, click this. Let's get this to be 1. Yeah. The Alt key, I was on the Mac for so long that I think of Command, but it's the Alt key on the PC. The Alt key, I have the Alt key down on my keyboard right now. The Alt key lets you just move one side of the Bezier curve so that this way I can adjust it. And that's how you create a shape. And that could be the beginning of the claw that I want to be able to make a silhouette with. And so that is not the individual claw, that is the overall claw. So at this point, I could turn this off and now build and cut. So I could actually cut into this and duplicate this. So piece by piece, we'll take a look at this. So in other words, on this one stroke here, I don't really have to do the outside and the inside. I could just do one line. So I'll go back to my pen tool, plot, 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 and plot, and escape breaks it off, back to the Bezier curve. And in actuality, I may not need that. I might be able to get it with this. So therefore, when you have kinks in your lines, it's because you have too many points. I could get rid of this. I don't need that because I can pull this out. And again, I should get this in the position and get this out of my way. Now that would be really hard. I could do that freehand fast, but we have to be precise. So because I'm going to replicate a lobster in some way, so I want to use that. So now on here, this is just a line. It is not a shape. It is a stroke only. It's not like what I have here, which is a shape. And how do I know that? Because I can turn this to become yellow. Oh, I don't have it selected. Let's select that object. So again, in any software, if things aren't working, it's often because your selection is incorrect. So just go back and look at your selection. So now I have this selected, and now I can double click this, and now I can give it a color and fill it. But I cannot do that with this. I mean, technically I could, but look what happens when I do. Let's turn this off so it doesn't confuse you. If I did fill this, let's do it with blue. You see, it does close it, but you see the line is not there. It's not closed. So it is a fill for a line, but I don't want that because I am going to convert this line to be a shape when we come back.